Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Sam. I'd like to welcome you to my EyeClarity Podcast. This is a show that offers cutting-edge information on how to improve your vision and overall wellness through holistic methods. I so appreciate you spending part of your day with me. If you have questions, you can send them to hello@drsambyrne.com. Now, to the latest EyeClarity episode. So tonight, we're going to enter the field of aromatherapy and herbal medicine. Okay, here we go. So what plant is this? Does anybody know what this plant is?
Lavender.
Lavender. Wow, you got the A for coming today. Exactly. So lavender is a fabulous essential oil, and we're gonna include that in the conversation today. But this course reflects my research. I did a lot of research on aromatherapy, also a lot of clinical experience. I have made my own essential oils. I've actually harvested many of the plants and trees, flowers, and I have a distiller, and I've created my own essential oils. So I've been in it from start to finish. I also have cultivated some relationships with some local farmers who both do herbs and essential oils. And believe me, it is a labor of love. So let's start the conversation by talking about plant systems versus human systems. And this was a little study that was done that used an instrument called an oscilloscope, which measures the vibration. It's one of the ways to measure the vibration of the body. And in this particular study that was done, the oscilloscope measured 63 megahertz for a normal, healthy humanoid. The flu was about 55 megahertz, so you see that the vibration was lower. COVID-19, 45 megahertz, and cancer, 39 megahertz. So remember that 63 megahertz as a normal vibration. But when we add essential oils like rose, 300 megahertz, ylang ylang, 120 megahertz, laurel leaf, 118 megahertz. I think you're going to be using those, yes, tonight. Lavender, 117 megahertz, and frankincense, 115 megahertz. So little story here. I moved to New Mexico in 1991, and I opened my practice of holistic eye care in April of 1992. And I got busy right away because Santa Fe is a pretty alternative community. And it inspired me to write my first book called Creating Your Personal Vision. Now, with creating your personal vision, and by the way, I have a new edition of that, which I redid a couple of years ago. You can get that on my website. There was a section in it on nutrition. And at the time, this was back in 1994, I wanted to interview somebody who knew something about diet and nutrition. And there was a naturopath and a chiropractor who practiced in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Some of you may have heard of her. Her name is Dr. Hazel Parcells. Dr. Hazel Parcells. And Dr. Parcells, when I contacted her, she was 103 years old, getting ready, and she ultimately moved her operation, her health practice, up to northern New Mexico, up in the mountains, a place called Sapio, New Mexico. And when I called her, I said, Doctor, I wanted to interview you for my book. And she said, well, the only way I'll do that is if you drive up to the mountains. Sapio was about an hour and a half from my house. And I need to meet you face to face. So I did that. I drove up, I walk in, and first thing she says to me is, you don't look well. And of course, I prided myself on my health. Oh, I ate well, I exercised, great lifestyle. She said, your parathyroid is off. And I think you also have worms. Well, whoa. So, anyways, I said, okay. So I went through her healing program. And in one of the modalities that she used in her facility, she actually had different buildings. And in one of the buildings, she had a whole series of these black boxes. I said, Doctor, what are these? She said, you've ever heard of radionics? And I said, no, what is that? She said, well, it was started in the UK by a guy named Malcolm Ray, R-A-E, and it's basically healing from a distance. And what we do with people is we measure their vibrations through, different dowsing techniques and so on. We get a witness, a picture, a blood spot, a hair, lock of hair, and we can measure their vibration. And then what we do is we broadcast vibrations and frequencies to them through their witness, through their specimen, and they're never in the same geographic location, and we get amazing results. And over the 2.5 years that I became a student of hers, she was healing things like cancer, fibromyalgia, Epstein-Barr, lupus, Lyme's disease, and she was doing it all through frequency and vibration. And one of the things that she taught me was disease likes to live in a lower frequency state. And if you raise your inner vibration, the disease can't live there. So if we go back to this particular oscilloscope reading, where the normal healthy body is vibrating at 63 megahertz, and you start applying these essential oils to your body or diffusing them in the air, you are now changing your environment, which is going to change your inner environment. And unlike synthetic made pharmaceutical drugs, they lower your vibrational frequency. You are now dealing with the consciousness of the pharmaceutical world instead of the plant world. And when you raise your vibration, okay, you then are in a state of health that you are immune to a lot of these bacterias and viruses and fungal things and the boogeyman, right? So this is a guy, you might want to check him out. He's an herbalist. He actually lives in Silver City, New Mexico. His name is Stephen Buhner. And I love this quote. He says, by declaring war on bacteria, we are declaring war on all living structures on Earth. Antibiotics have one single compound. Essential oils have such complexity that when the bacteria morph, they can handle the change. So the key in plant medicine is that we are not in the military. We were not out to kill. We are here to live in balance and harmony. And that's a very different idea than what's going on in Western medicine. We got to kill it. We got to overcome it. We've got to battle it. It's a war. And there's no balance and harmony in that. So I'm not an expert on COVID-19. I'm not going to get into the politics of COVID-19. However, one of the things that I have learned about essential oils is that they are able to neutralize viruses. And many of the essential oils are antiviral and antifungal. Also, many of the essential oils can support our immune system and our lymphatic system. So just by using something like eucalyptus or tea tree oil, you can put it in your mask or put it in a cotton ball, and you are now breathing the eucalyptus and the essential oil tea tree. You are creating an inner environment that is going to keep at bay any viruses that you may be exposed to. This is just a health practice. I am not saying that X treats Y. That's the disease-based model. In a wellness model, what we say is, well, if we create the inner environment like Dr. Parcells says, then we clean it up, we get rid of the toxins, we're vibrating at a high level, our environment is going to support the vibration, and the outer environment is going to support the inner environment. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something from the EyeClarity Podcast show today. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. See you here next time.